Last time we told you the origins of Superman's sidekick, but there's one individual in the DC universe that loves to play with sidekicks. Joker. This is Comicstorian. I take comic books, turn them into audio dramas, so you know what to add to your collection, and today we are covering World's Finest 9, 10, and 11. Let's get into it. Beneath the streets of Gotham, the rat catcher has brought down his latest victim to be food for his rats. But a batarang flies through the darkness, cracking him in the head, dropping him into the waters. The rat catcher's goon raises his weapon, firing it into the darkness around them, unaware that Batman is slowly coming up from behind them. That's when suddenly there's a blinding light as Boy Thunder flies forward, energy cracking off of him. "Batman's not your problem! Meet Boy Thunder!" David shouts, the sidekick of Superman. Heated energy burning the pistol in the goon's hand, forcing him to drop it. But Ratcatcher is on his feet again as he sees Batman in the now-lit corridor. "There you are! Get him!" Ratcatcher orders his vermin horde. The rats rush forward, but Batman doesn't panic. "David, hold your ears!" Batman snaps as he activates a sonic pulse on his belt that drops everyone to their knees, clutching at their ears. The rats hate the noise as well, and they turn to rush away into the sewers. Back on the streets, Batman ties up Ratcatcher and his goon to a lamppost before turning back to David, admonishing him. "Not the way I wanted to handle that. My ears are ringing." David defends his actions, pointing out that the goon had a gun. "They've all got guns in Gotham, or worse." Batman explains, telling him that Gotham is far different from Metropolis, and much different from the threats that Superman faces. "The evil in Gotham trends darker, and you need to be prepared for that." Elsewhere, the Joker laughs as he returns to his lair, holding on to Angleman's angler. He hands the weirdly shaped device to the Key, and he uses it to activate his special door. "Yes, this'll do perfectly," the Key says with an evil smile. Meanwhile, in the Gulf of Guinea, the Flash and Superman are racing across the ocean to help some drowning sailors. Superman asks Flash how he has dealt with having a teen sidekick, and Flash explains that he needs to let David find his own way, but be there for David when he makes the mistake. The sailors explain that it wasn't their crashed boat, and that pirates actually stole their actual ship. Superman turns with his supervision and smiles. "From what I can see, I wouldn't worry about it," he says to the Flash. The pirates are quickly escaping their ship, but are suddenly hit hard as a blue whale commanded by Aqualad slams into them. The pirates on the bridge are suddenly hit with gas, and Kid Flash is there to take their guns as Robin and Donna take out the others on the deck. Boy Thunder rushes one of them with a weapon, grabbing his hand and burning him. The man screams in pain, dropping the gun. "Hey!" Aqualad snaps, rushing forward. "Did you really have to burn him? Maybe just general flame burst to scare him." But David defends his actions, not wanting to set the ship's oil ablaze. And Speedy backs him up as the group of teen heroes argues about what happened, and another pirate suddenly rushes them, firing his rifle as he runs. Aqualad falls, a round grazing his shoulder, and Boy Thunder turns with anger. "No, you son of a! You stop shooting at my friends!" he bellows, firing a blast of superheated energy at the pirate. In a blur of motion, Superman is there taking the blast, and it leaves him smoking. "David!" he snaps. Nearby, Robin helps Aqualad to his feet, whispering to Superman not to yell at David in front of his friends. Superman pauses for a moment before picking up David and flying away. Far away, Superman tells David that he can't keep letting his anger control him, that he can't be responsible for taking the life of another, that he can only use his powers to protect others. Tears fill David's eyes as he asks Superman to not hate him. Superman looks at David in confusion. "David, your heart rate just doubled. What is it? What are you not telling me?" It takes a moment, but David admits the truth. It was his fault that his parents couldn't escape their doomed Earth, that he never took their work seriously and was goofing off in their spaceship, but he broke it, and his parents didn't have time to fix it. This left only the small pod that saved him. "I wasn't taking it seriously. I killed my parents, and I'm responsible," David whispers to Superman. Meanwhile, over in Gotham City, a massive door suddenly appears in the middle of the city. It slowly begins to open, flooding the city streets as millions of gallons of water from Gotham Harbor begin to flood. Superman turns, hearing the pleas for help from Gotham. Batman, are you seeing this? Seeing it! I'm in it! Hurry, I need you! Batman shouts, and in moments, Superman is there pulling people to safety as the city continues to flood. Work of art! Joker says, laughing as he watches from the rooftops above. With David and Batman continuing to work, Superman realizes that it isn't enough. He swims underwater to the massive doors and begins to create a whirlpool, sucking the water out of the city and back into the bay. What's he doing? David asks, and Batman pulls another civilian to safety. Changing the course of a mighty river. With the water pulled out of the city, Batman jumps into the Batmobile, slamming into the massive door, making sure that it's closed. It screeches to a stop, and David admires it. That's one badass car. Batman nods. Thanks, and no, you can't drive it. With that, Batman turns back to the city, prepared to continue to help the people in need. But a door suddenly opens behind David, and a hand reaches out, grabbing him. Before the door can close, Batman gets a glimpse of an evil smile. Joker. In their lair, David's face has already broken out into a grin as he begins to laugh. Oh, Key, our special guest has arrived. Now, the real fun begins. The Joker throws down paper after paper, showing Boy Thunder working alongside Batman and Superman. Don't tell me you don't know their real names, he says, hitting David with another blast of energy from the torture machine that he is strapped into. Joker, we've been at this for hours, Key points out from nearby, and Joker turns with a smile. Time truly doesn't fly, Mr. Key. Joker turns back to David, squirting his Joker gas on him again from the flower on his lapel. Please, don't hurt me, let me go, David says with a cough, and Joker laughs again. Adorable. You think those caped buffoons are coming to save you? And before David's eyes, the images of Jokerized versions of Batman, Superman, and Robin appear. Joker holds up a mirror for him, and David screams as he sees his own smiling face. Meanwhile, back in Gotham City, Batman, Superman, Robin, and the Teen Titans are scouring the city, looking for any sign of the Key or Joker. While Superman continues to barge his way into any lead-lined building that he can find, Batman manages to find a piece of equipment from Key's old base that has the LexCorp insignia on it. Alright, everyone listen up. I'm cross-referencing the deliveries of certain LexCorp advanced electronics, with Gotham buildings listed as vacant. He begins to read off the addresses for the heroes to converge on, but in a blur of motion, Superman picks them up and drops them there. Batman pauses for only a moment before moving forward and opening the door. Alright, whatever we're expecting, it isn't this, he says as the heroes step through the door and into a swirling chamber of endless floating doors. Elsewhere, the Joker is polishing his favorite crowbar while the Key sits before David, the young hero awakening with surprise at how close the villain is. Good, you're awake. You passed out. What exactly did the Joker make you see, if I may ask? David explains that everyone was the Joker in his vision, and Key nods, explaining that he has been teaching the Joker the finer points of working with chemicals. The Joker fancies himself a bit of a chemist. He's agreed to provide me with some of his experimental psychotropics once I help him get what he wants, the Key tells David, sighing as he explains that the Joker keeps changing what he wants out of their deal. But he smiles, stating that the Joker's very focused on making David bleed. Please, let me go. I'm not a superhero. I'm not even from here, David says, explaining that he is from another Earth entirely, and that his parents sent him here in a rocket ship. The Key's eyes widen as he leans back. Wait, are you saying you come from a parallel world? My God! Has fate presented me with the key to the multiverse? Meanwhile, the rest of the heroes are still trying to figure out what door to use to get to all of this. But every one that they open leads them into some realm with aliens or monsters. What happens when one of us opens a door to the vacuum of space or a stampede of kryptonite buffalo? Robin asks as they shove another door closed before a group of alligator men can escape. But Batman figures it out. The Joker and Key had to open one of these doors, and while the Joker wears gloves, the Key does not. Superman uses his supervision to look at all of the doors and finally finds the Key's fingerprint on one of the doorknobs. The heroes rush forward, opening it up, and in their lair, the Joker pauses, his crowbar now dripping with blood. The door explodes behind him and he turns to see the heroes approaching. "Step away from the boy," Superman growls, his eyes burning with heat. Superman and Batman move forward, ripping apart the torture device and freeing David, but the key escapes through the door as Superman rushes after him. When he rips open the door, a massive monster comes rushing back through, forcing Batman to leap out of the way. Donna moves to grab a hold of the Joker, but is zapped by a defense system on him. He leaps away, jumping through another door. "Aqualad and I have the clown," Robin shouts as they move in pursuit, but David flies by him, anger in his bruised and bloody face. "Clown's mine!" he growls, and the rest of the heroes turn to fight against the massive monsters that are continuing to pour out of the door. David flies through it and after the Joker, appearing in one of the Joker's funhouse lairs. "Hey, Clown! Guess what? I'm not playing your stupid games!" David shouts, anger and heat pouring off of him as he uses his powers to destroy the lair around him. In the destruction, he sees the Joker running away. "Kid, you're taking the fun out of this!" the Joker shouts as David fires another blast of energy at him, the blast hitting the Joker in the back. "How do you like pain?" David snaps, rushing forward, grabbing a hold of the Joker's hands and burning them, making the clown scream in pain. Robin and Aqualad catch up, shouting for David to stop, but the young hero stands over the fallen clown, his eyes glowing with anger. "You tortured me, you freaking psychopath! If I ever lay eyes on you again, I swear I'm gonna kill you! I don't care if it's tomorrow or 20 years from now. I will kill you!" David bellows, the anger echoing sometime into the future, because as Magog, he stands over the Joker that he has just killed, and we realize that David is the villain of the Kingdom Come storyline. It was 20 minutes before this that the Key got what he wanted. He used the chemicals to get the truth out of David, learning about his rocket's location and where Superman's Fortress of Solitude was. But the chemicals also made David forget the conversation, meaning that he had no idea that that's where the Key was going. Now, Batman is leaning over the unconscious body of the Joker, beaten by David. "He'll live. If he weren't perpetually fueled by hate, I'd reevaluate the assessment." It was an accident, David tries to say, but Aqualad shakes his head, telling the heroes what he and Robin saw. Superman and Batman converse for a moment before Batman puts his hand on his friend's shoulder. "You know what you have to do. You meet the contingency yourself. I'm sorry." Superman nods, turning to David. "Come with me." Robin steps forward as well. "I'd like to join you. I think I know what's next and he's going to need a friend." Batman nods, promising that he will join them after he has tracked down the Key's trail. Short time later, the trio arrive at the Fortress of Solitude, and using the crystals from Krypton, Superman creates a machine that will depower David, never allowing him to use his powers to hurt anyone again. David protests, telling Superman that he will do better, but Superman shakes his head as he activates the machine. "I promise I'll get you all the help you need, as a normal boy," Superman says, but just before he activates the crystals, he stops himself, stepping forward, pulling David away from the chamber. "No, this isn't your fault. It's mine. I can do better as your mentor. You didn't ask for any of this. We're both learning how this works. But we're a team, David." He then suddenly stops as he looks up, the fortress rumbling, and the three heroes look up to see a stampede of alien creatures that Superman keeps in the fortress. "The Key," they all say in unison. Superman leaps up to stop the creatures. "Find him," he tells Robin over his shoulder. Robin and David take off and find the Key waiting for them. "Gentlemen, forgive me. I was hoping no one would be here. I realize that it's problematic to drop in uninvited, especially when you've brought friends for much-needed company," the Key says with a smile as he opens a door behind him, allowing a group of supervillains to march into the fortress. Robin and David immediately leap into combat with Bag O' Bones, Acid Master, Dr. Phoenix, Ferlin Nixley, and the Zebra Man. But the villains prove too much for them, and they are quickly knocked down. Having stopped the animals, though, Superman races over to help the young heroes, and that's when the Key opens up a door that Superman flies through, which drops him into the depowering machine. "Unfortunately for you, I've been here long enough to eavesdrop on your plans," the Key says as he activates the machine. Red energy begins to rip into Superman, and he bellows in pain. Weakened, he collapses to the ground. "I thought that might work, at least for a little while. Now, if you'll pardon me, I'm off to unlock the multiverse." But Superman isn't completely down for the count. Robin and David continue to fight against the other villains, so Superman leaps in to help. The key put me through the solar drain process. It should wear off shortly, but for now, you're the only one of us with any powers. Superman calls to David. Zebraman rushes forward, slamming into the last son of Krypton. David, on the other hand, begins to glow with energy and turns to the rest of the villains. That's the way you losers want to play? Fine, he snaps, blasting them all, knocking them out with a single burst of energy. Robin rushes to Superman's side. They're burned, but not dead. Recovery progress? Robin asks as Superman gets to his feet. Still weak. I lost sight of David in the flare. But David is flown to his ship, where he sees the key trying to activate it. You wouldn't recall, but I took one last preventative measure against you. Freeze, the key orders, and David suddenly can't move. The key explains that he put a control word in to paralyze David. You're no longer of any use to me, so it's time to end this, Key says before opening a small door and pulling out a large blaster. He calls it the Master Key, as it can unlock the bonds of molecules in a person and unravel them. But Batman is suddenly there, kicking the key in the face, knocking him out. He turns over to David, using a pressure point to reset his nervous system. And as David leaps forward, he grabs a hold of the key, beginning to burn with his hands. You're a monster! You don't deserve to live! David shouts, but as Batman is about to step in to stop him, Superman is there, putting his hand to stop Batman. David, I know what you think of yourself, and you're wrong. You are better than this. Trust me, Superman says softly. David pauses for a moment before dropping the key to the ground. All right. Superman breathes a sigh of relief before turning back to Batman. Oh, I thought you'd never get here, Superman says, and Batman smiles at his friend. I told you I was on his trail. Both are unaware that during this, David's rocket is activating. Guys? David says, and they both look up to see the young hero beginning to vibrate. Batman looks to the ship and explains that it's activated, and the energy is making David begin to vibrate at super speed as well. It's trying to take off, David. Shut it down! But David doesn't know how. He never learned it from his parents. Superman steps forward. David, stay calm. We can do this, all right? I know a bit of advanced tech. Let me try something. Superman says as he reaches for the ship, but his hand passes through it as the ship is already vibrating too fast. He turns to Batman, asking him to call for the Flash. Already have, no response! Robin looks at them all, wondering who else they can call, but David has become calm. No one who could get here fast enough. What's gonna happen to me? Batman looks at him, explaining that he's going to phase shift to an alternate Earth. Superman tells David that he will find him. He will find a way to bring the boy home. David thanks them for everything that they've done as he climbs into his ship. But his last words are lost as he disappears, leaving Batman, Robin, and Superman alone in the Fortress of Solitude. Moments later, his ship appears on a desolate Earth, covered in dust that blocks out the sun. He pulls himself from the ship, looking around in confusion until the voice calls out to him. Welcome, David, the voice says. David turns to see a giant standing before him and his hand extended in a greeting. You may call me Gog. I've been waiting for you. If you want to see more adventures of Batman, Superman, and what's going to happen with David, subscribe, hit that notification bell. But otherwise, to be continued.